I'm Claudia Catania, and you're listening to Playing on Air. You're about to hear Kansas Anymore, written and directed by David Ives. David Ives wrote the book for Stephen Sondheim's final musical, Here We Are. He's the author of the play Venus in Fur, also of the film version by Roman Polanski, New Jerusalem, The Interrogation of Baruch de Spinoza, Is He Dead?, Lives of the Saints, All in the Timing, and many more. At last count, he's adapted 33 musicals for the long-running Encore series at City Center in New York. Our cast features Lois Smith and Catherine Curtin. Lois Smith has graced stages on Broadway in The Grapes of Wrath, Orpheus Descending, and The Inheritance, for which she won the Tony. On Off-Broadway in The Illusion, After the Revolution, Trip to Bountiful. Movie screens in Minority Report, Dead Man Walking, Twister, Fried Green Tomatoes, Fatal Attraction, 5 Easy Pieces, on television Desperate Housewives, True Blood, ER, to name just the tip of the iceberg. Catherine Curtin is featured in movies SNL, 1975, Bad Shabbos, Founders Day, Werewolves Within, and Bad Education. On TV, her recurring leads include Stranger Things, Homeland, Orange is the New Black, and Insecure. And now, here's Kansas Anymore by David Ives.
Oh, wow. This is amazing. I can't believe it. I am really here. Dorothy! Hello! Hello!
Yes, I will be out in a second. Just make yourself at home.
Out this window. Your farm looks like the movie. In the beginning of The Wizard of Oz. I mean, there's the pigman and the storm cellar and a fence gate banging in the wind, and nothing and nobody for miles and miles, just gray clouds over a dead Kansas prairie. A perfect setting for a murder. Dorothy! Are you all right? What are you up to in there?
Here I am.
Oh, you did it, you sweetheart. You put it on. The blue gingham dress. Thank you.
Well, you asked me about it so nicely in your letter, and I thought, for the interview and everything.
Dorothy, you are a feast in that. You are scrumptious, and that's what you wore in the actual Land of Oz.
It doesn't fit me really anymore. That was all decades ago. I was just a girl.
It's perfect. Oh, and will you look at that? The basket, the immortal basket that you carried your little dog in.
Yes, I carried Toto everywhere in this. The yellow brick road, the Emerald City, the castle of the Wicked Witch of the West.
May I hold it? May I hold that precious basket for just 1 second?
If you're very careful with it.
Wow, your basket is much heavier than I expected. What do you got in here? Oh. What the hell?
Oh, stop it, Toto, stop it. Stop it. Oh. All right, get back in the basket now. Go on. He doesn't usually do that with strangers.
So Toto is still alive? What is he, 75 years old?
Oh, no, this is Toto number 22. I couldn't live without a Toto at my side.
So you have the gingham dress and the basket and your little dog, too. What you don't have are the silver shoes?
No. The shoes got lost on the way back, unfortunately.
Silver shoes, not ruby slippers, as the movie had it.
Oh, the movie got so many things wrong. Hollywood just made them ruby slippers because of the Technicolor. I thought they were vulgar when I finally saw it.
Darn those Hollywood people. They were vulgar.
But don't you want to take off your sunglasses?
I'm sorry.
your sunglasses since we're here inside?
No, it's just I have this thing with my eyes. The light here in Kansas only seems to make it worse somehow.
Of course, you people wear sunglasses all the time in Los Angeles.
It's the local dress code in La La Land, though it's never as warm there as this. Phew.
Do you want to help yourself to some ice water? The pitcher's right there on the table.
I think I'll abstain.
Do you mind if I pour myself a little?
No, please. So, Dorothy and the Land of Oz. My listeners on Radio Hollywood are going to love, love, love hearing you.
But how in the world did you find me, Miss Hamilton?
Oh, sweetheart, please. Call me Maggie.
How did you ever find this farm out in the middle of nowhere?
I'm a reporter, honey. Digging people up is my job. Shall we get started?
Where are you from originally?
Dorothy. You're the interviewee. I am the one who asks the questions.
We Kansas folks like to know things like that, where people come from. Are you a church person, and so on?
Church person? No, not exactly. Listen. While we have the light, would you mind if I get a picture of you as a souvenir?
Oh, no, not at all.
Let me just get on my camera.
Oh, my. What an enormous black bag you have. What all is in there?
Just the tools of my trade. Some odds and ends.
Are those knives in there?
What in the world would I want with knives? And there's my camera. Now, just stand right there.
Can Toto 22 be in the picture, too?
And Toto 22, too, yeah.
Oh, stop it. Toto, stop it. I really don't understand why he's behaving like this.
Well, we'll just have to punish him, won't we? Now smile. And perfect.
Oh,
could you do something about your little dog, please?
Toto 22, you get back in the basket. Go on. Good boy. So where are you from, Miss Hamilton?
Originally, you might say, I'm from Wichita.
Wichita?
Listen, why don't we settle in and get started?
You don't sound much like Wichita.
Do you mind if we push on? I hear there's some bad weather moving in, and I sure don't want to get caught in that.
No, please.
You take a seat while I get out my trusty dictaphone here.
You were so specific about when you wanted to meet.
I was letting the weather guide me. That Kansas weather building up out there right now.
But you're from Wichita? Really?
Can I just say how honored I am you're doing this? You are a difficult get.
It's true. I've turned down every interview since it all happened. Radio, newspapers, and then television when that came in.
So why did you say yes to me?
I don't know, Maggie. You just sounded a little different, but you're from Wichita, you say?
Just 1 second. Testing. Good. Okay, we are all set to record. Just speak up for the microphone. And welcome to Radio Hollywood. My name is Maggie Hamilton. Today is the 4th of July, 1976. America's 200th birthday, by the way. And I am on a farm in the middle of Kansas with an American icon, a true national heroine. Say hello to our listeners, Dorothy.
Hello.
Are you nervous?
Oh, just a little bit.
And that is so odd, because you personify courage the whole world over. Could you just recap for our listeners what makes you into a symbol of bravery for people everywhere?
Well, once upon a time when I was a girl, I was living on this very farm with my Aunt Em and Uncle Henry.
And Toto, too.
And my dog Toto, too.
And then what happened?
And then, one day, a cyclone came up and lifted this whole house and carried me away to a strange and wonderful place.
To the so-called Maryland of Oz.
Yes, onto a part of it called Munchkin Land.
Munchkin Land. Isn't that delicious? But didn't that cyclone drop your house onto something?
Yes, it dropped us on top of the Wicked Witch of the East, knocking her right over.
Knocking her over, knocking her off, you mean?
I didn't mean to kill her. The house did it.
Oh, these lethal Kansas farmhouses. And then what happened?
Well, then the Witch of the North came and thanked me for killing the Wicked Witch of the East.
So this was a nice witch, the good, quote-unquote, Witch of the North.
A very nice witch. You should have seen how she just glowed.
I can picture it.
Anyway, I had to find my way back to Kansas somehow.
You actually wanted to come back.
Oh, of course I did. And she said I should ask the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. So I set out on the yellow brick road for the Emerald City where he lives.
Probably sounds unbelievable to some of our listeners, but you made some unusual friends on that yellow road, didn't you, Dorothy?
Oh, yes. The Scarecrow who wanted a brain, the Tin Woodman who wanted a heart, and the Cowardly Lion who wanted courage.
Men without brains or a heart or courage. Sounds like L.A. to me.
I'm sorry?
Nothing. It's a Hollywood joke. But you were meeting the wizard.
Yes. And he told me the only way I could get back home was to kill the Wicked Witch of the West.
The villain of your story, quote-unquote.
Not quote-unquote, she was wicked. That's why they called her
The Wicked Witch
of the West.
But fess up now. Was she really all that wicked?
Well, she sicked her nasty flying monkeys on us, and she very nearly killed us.
Getting rid of her couldn't have been that hard. I mean, you already bumped off her sister.
That was an accident. My house fell on her.
But in the end, you did kill her, the so-called Wicked Witch of the West. How did you do that again?
By throwing a bucket full of water at her and melting her. A bucket no bigger than the pitcher of water on this table right here.
And you've never felt bad about taking a life, taking her life?
I didn't mean to melt her. The water did it.
What about murdering her sister?
It was an accident. My house fell on her.
You are a dangerous lady, Dorothy from Kansas. And I have to say, the merry old land of Oz doesn't sound very merry to me. Falling houses, munchkins, and murders and meltings, gangs of psychotic monkeys headed by wicked old witches.
It was wonderful. The adventures and everything.
And yet you still came back, didn't you?
Well, I was still homesick for Kansas.
Since there's no place like home.
Since there's no place like home.
You realize it's a pernicious cultural stereotype.
I'm sorry?
Witches, haggard crows flying around on broomsticks doing quote-unquote evil. That's all part of the cultural baggage of patriarchy, a way of demonizing women who have certain special knowledge and unusual powers.
She was a witch. A witch. Miss Hamilton, all right?
Fine, yeah, fine. It's your experience. But after you got back, Hollywood made a movie called The Wizard of Oz. And they got a few things wrong, didn't they?
Oh, that darn movie invented all kinds of things. The books by Mr. L. Frank Baum were much truer to what really happened.
Let's stop there. You say what really happened. Now, did all of that really happen in so-called Oz?
Every bit of it.
You know, there are a few doubters out there.
Oh, yes, I know some people think it's all just a fairy tale or something.
So you actually talked to a scarecrow? And a man made out of scrap metal?
It wasn't scrap metal. It was tin.
And a lion with self-esteem issues?
Lion was afraid, and he had every right to be with all those dangers.
Some people claim the merry old land of Oz is just a metaphor. A satire on capitalism. Emerald City was green because of money, and the road was yellow to symbolize gold.
No. It all happened. It was real. and the dangers were real, which I overcame by banding together with my fellow creatures, even if they were made of straw or tin.
Socialism, in other words.
Not socialism. Friendship.
Can we talk about those friends of yours for a second? Scarecrow, for example. If I may get a little personal, more intimate, because I suspect you're hiding something, Dorothy, behind all that Midwestern goodness and virtue.
What about Scarecrow?
Fess up, Dottie. Was Scarecrow maybe just a little more than a friend, quote unquote?
What a terrible thing to say.
How about the steadfast tin wood man? Was there a little flirty thing going on? Maybe a menage a trois with the lion, you're not so cowardly voyeur?
Shame on you.
Sweetheart, I'm in the media. I'm in the Hollywood media.
Well, you must change the channel of your mind. Good Lord, I loved them as my friends.
Fine, we'll leave it at that. So speaking of the movie, did you go to the premiere?
To Los Angeles? No, I stayed right here in Kansas.
I should mention for our listeners that Dorothy is sitting here with me in the famous blue check dress and holding the basket with her celebrated little dog. Do you keep the dress under glass, or?
Oh, no. Just wrapped in tissue paper in a box in a drawer. A very nice box with flowers that Aunt Em left me.
Aunt Em!
Oh, people always think it's Auntie Em.
The darn movie again.
She's gone long ago. God rest her soul. She and Uncle Henry.
And Toto, too.
And Toto, too.
You've done a brilliant job of staying out of the limelight all these years, hidden out here all alone, a recluse, a hermit, really.
Well, it was very hard. After I came back, adjusting, I mean.
Of course it was. You've been traumatized. You were a refugee.
You might say that.
A refugee from heaven, from Eden.
Well, it is hard to have gone somewhere special and done something wonderful and then suddenly be just...
Nothing.
And then be nothing and have nothing.
This broken down farmhouse is all that is left to you now, isn't it?
Barely. It's been mortgaged 5 times over, and all the rest of the farms around here have been sold off to big corporations. I don't even know anybody around me for miles anymore. No, that whole world, that's gone now. That beautiful world that I grew up in, where families lived together. People knew each other, helped each other. Oh, my, will you look at that? You made me cry.
Now, you go right ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I should think you often find yourself crying into your apron, don't you, Dorothy? Late at night, all alone here in the dark.
Yes, I do find myself crying a good deal these days.
After losing so much. Not just Aunt Em and Uncle Henry and 21 Totos in a row. Losing Oz.
Yes, which is still out there someplace, somewhere, over the rainbow, as she says in the movie.
Must be pretty lonely here in gray old Kansas at your advanced age. Mortgaged up to the wazoo in non-merry old America, cradling your old basket in your arms. Maybe you do that from time to time, put on the old blue dress here all by yourself and take out the basket.
Yes, I do that sometimes.
Maybe read one of Mr. Baum's dog-eared books.
I do like to read them.
Maybe even watching that darn movie.
I hate that movie, but... Oh, we do love to be lied to, don't we? Why, I watch that movie every time it's on the television.
It never ages, does it?
Even though Oz, the real Oz, wasn't anything like that. Oz was so much more... more...
Magical?
Yes, but the magic wasn't the place. the magic wasn't outside of you. It went all through you. It flooded you. It became you. The good things and the bad. You turned into a piece of Oz. Forever.
Nobody ever ages a day there, do they?
No. They just are whatever they are and stay that way forever and ever and ever.
What about all the wonderful things the movie never mentioned? The people made of China? The fighting trees? The quadlings?
Oh, my, the quadlings. Yes.
Would you go back, Dorothy? If you could, back to the land of Oz?
Oh, I would do it in a second.
In a second, exactly.
In spite of all the terrible things.
The terrible things wouldn't matter, would they? Nothing would matter if you were in Oz.
Wouldn't you go back?
Yes.
Don't you want to go back?
I do want to go back.
Back to your castle?
Back to my wonderful castle. Back to my guards. My faithful monkeys.
Now will you turn that machine off? Turn it off, please. You liar.
I beg your pardon.
Do you think I don't know who you are? Oh, well, take this.
No, not the water. Don't throw the water.
Are you ready to melt again? For good this time, I hope.
Stop. Dorothy, please.
I thought it might be you from your letter. Maggie Hamilton, quote, unquote. You coward, why don't you say who you are?
Rat. Yes. It's me.
When you said you were from Wichita, I knew for sure you just couldn't resist, could you?
Well, we all need our little fun.
So you came here to kill me with your bag full of knives? Get her, Toto.
Oh, will you be quiet? Damn dog! So throw the water at me. Go on.
Get ready.
But if you do, your life will be even more empty than it is now, my pretty. You need me, Dorothy. I give you meaning.
What do you mean?
I need you the way you need me. Yes. I came out here to take my revenge. But first, to make you talk about the old days. Just to torture you. Delicately. After looking for you for decades. Hating you for decades.
So it didn't work the first time. I didn't melt you?
Oh, you melted me all right, and you transported me to this. To America. Where I'm nobody, too. Where I'm powerless Maggie Hamilton of Hollywood, California, interviewing faded celebrities by day, sitting alone at night, watching and rewatching old movies about me. The two of us.
I'm gonna throw this.
Oh, you're my friend, Dorothy. You're my only friend. Don't desert me now.
Why didn't you just do it? Why didn't you just kill me?
You and your friends went to the wizard looking for a brain and a heart and some courage. Today, you gave me something I needed.
What could I possibly give you?
A touch of goodness. A reminder of how strange and wonderful it is. And how much I missed you and our time together before I take my leave with a little help from Kansas.
What is that? What's that noise?
Look out that window and you'll see. That's why I planned all of this for today.
It's a cyclone. It's coming right this way.
Yes, Dorothy, the cyclone can take me back. That can take us back together.
Oh, my. No.
Yes, that cyclone is a yellow brick road back to Oz. Oh, out of the gray hell to our own true home. And what do we always say? What do we always say about home?
There's no place like home.
All we have to do is ride that tornado to reach it. It'll take me and you and your blue dress and your immortal basket and Toto too.
No, not that. I couldn't do that again. No, not now. Not at my age.
Yes, you can. Surrender, Dorothy. Don't fear it. Ride the cyclone with me. The scarecrow is waiting for you. The Tin Woodman, the lion. Oz wants you back. It's not complete without you. A place where you'll never age again.
I'll never age?
Not one more day. You'll be just as you are now, forever.
I never age.
And I'll have all my powers back. You hear that? The cyclone is calling us. Come with me, Dorothy. back over the rainbow, back to friendship, back to wonder, back to a danger, a world of beauty beyond Technicolor, to the wonderful land of Oz.
Yes.
Oh, the adventures we could have over there, you and I.
Yes.
Will you come with me, Dorothy?
Oh, how do I know it's just not another trick?
The only way you'll find out is by going.
I can trust you.
You were brave enough back then. Are you brave enough for this? You are. I know it.
Yes, I am brave enough. Hop in the basket, Toto.
Yes. Hop in the basket, Toto. And say it for me, Dorothy. Say it.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like
You've just heard Kansas Anymore, written and directed by David Ives. It featured Lois Smith as Dorothy and Catherine Curtin as Maggie, otherwise known as the Wicked Witch of the West.
My name is David Ives, and I wrote and directed this play.
My name is Lois Smith, and I played Dorothy.
My name is Catherine Curtin, and I played Maggie, the Wicked Witch. Yeah. So there, okay?
David Ives, playwright and director. As the starting point for the play we just recorded, you chose an old classic American children's novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, written by Frank Baum in 1900, and made into a wildly popular movie in 1939. Of all the material in the world on which to base a short play, how and why did you land on this story?
I don't actually remember what the impetus for this play was, but I can say that when the movie of The Wizard of Oz was re-released in about 1955 or 56, which is actually when it became a hit, because it was not a great hit in 39. It was re-released in 1955 or 6 when I was 5 or 6, and I hid under the seat in the commercial movie theater in South Chicago every time The Witch came on. And my mother had to literally reach under the seat and pull me out and tell me it was fine until The Witch came back, and then I hid under the seat again. So obviously the movie had a profound effect on me, but it was extraordinary. And I still have that extraordinary memory of that happening. So the movie has had a fascination for me all my life since that time. I think it's one of the great American movies. I never tire of watching it. And when she starts to sing Over the Rainbow, I always cry. I still always cry and I think it's partly because suddenly it's the voice of a woman coming out of this 16-year-old girl of such incredible adult longing. And so the movie changes hue at that moment. And I can feel myself tearing up right now as I picture her doing it and hear her in my mind. Anyway, I watched it many times as a kid when it came on TV. I have it permanently DVR'd on my television, and everything about it is perfect. So I don't know how it led to this play. I had the idea for this play a few years ago and wrote it down. So it's a mystery how it happened.
Lois Smith, you were 9 years old in 1939 when the Hollywood it wasn't a blockbuster then, I've just learned, but when it came out, starring a young Judy Garland, do you remember seeing it as a child?
No, I don't. And I suspect that I probably didn't see it then. We didn't see movies a lot in my family, but it's interesting. But now that I have become a very old person, it was interesting to read this play and think, oh, yes, of course I'm playing Dorothy. It's there was something about an arc in this play that was I don't know what to say, a surprise, it's hard to talk about it. It's a strange play.
Oh, that is the highest possible compliment anybody could pay me. But also, so it's so fitting that you yourself are from Kansas.
I am.
I just love
that's
that.
Right. I was
just
born
love
there.
That.
Perfect. Lois, your young years were literally spent in Kansas.
That's
so
right, yes.
What is Kansas itself not Kansas anymore?
It's been actually quite a long time since I've been there. I moved, I think I was 9 years old when my family moved not far away, about 90 miles to St. Joseph, Missouri. But shortly after that, in a couple of years, my family moved to Seattle. And that's then where I grew up and was there until my early 20s when I came to New York and stayed here or nearby. I've also lived in Princeton and Philadelphia, but basically I came east, and now New York is my home in a way that nothing else is home, despite the places I've lived. But Kansas,
But you've retained
I used to
a
go
bit
now
of
and then,
Kansas.
back and forth, but it's been years since I've been in Kansas. Yeah.
In the movie, The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's knocked out but in the tornado and dreams of courageously finding a way back home from Oz with the help of her friends. And sure enough, she wakes up from her dream back at the Kansas farm. Whereas in David Ives' short play, Dorothy decides to leave home, preferring Oz. What do you make of this reversal? Anyone?
Well, I was just wondering if, because you made me wonder where this play came from, and I don't often think about that or what plays are about. But this play is obviously about being older and wanting to return, and I've been very aware at my current age of getting older, and so it is a personal play in that way of being aware of being older and of wanting to go back. I wouldn't mind being back under the seat of the commercial theater in South Chicago at this very moment with my mother pulling me out and saving me. So that must be part of it, no doubt. But when I'm writing something, I don't inquire about it. I just want to find out what these people have to say to each other.
And I think that Lois picked that up when she said there's something about full circle in terms of her being an older person, because the aging rings very true to me, to want to go back where you're vital again. And
it's about being brave too.
And being brave and rather risk dying.
Yeah, sure.
Being adventuresome and powerful.
Yeah. And I can't tell you how moved I am to have Lois Smith in this play. Oh my
David,
God,
yes.
I am so moved. And just wonderful work by the two of you. You know, we were in the sound booth listening to you moving and trying to control ourselves listening to you. It was just wonderful. Thank you.
I think it's a very moving play. You know, I mean, what I really didn't understand reading it at home, what I really discovered here today is that the desperate longing of being at one place in your life when you want to be at another place, and really having to go back to that person that you hate to get there is this fabulous little problem that we all have in life. You know, it's like to gain revenge is not really enough. You have to regain your life with that person, and that's I think that's like the Greeks, right? I mean, that's such classic. You know, you can't move forward without the person with whom you had the most difficulty.
I have to say that it wasn't until I was giving you a piece of direction before the last time we ran through it, when I was talking about how the two of you were becoming one, and it struck me something I had not thought about. is that at the end, it's as if Dorothy accepts the wicked part of herself, and that is the only way she can go on, is to say, okay, we are one thing, and we are going to go back to that place together. And so I actually didn't know that until the moment I was speaking to you about that part of the play. And so I never know what these plays are about, but it was so interesting to suddenly go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wow. So now I see why it rings true, why it rang so true as the two of you came together. I need you the way you need me is what the witch says to Dorothy. And it's true that they are part of one story.
And desire the wickedness of like wanting something for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
That life on the prairie, I don't know, I'm making this up, but that it's always that it's about the other person, and this is Dorothy going, no, I want me. I want to go back to a utopian place, and
she's doing something wicked. Actually, she's like abandoning home and being wicked in her own way.
I think when they say opposites attract, I mean, it's part of trying to be whole.
Yeah.
And what's happening right here is the wonder of what we do. For me, in the same room together in a few minutes, and these things happen to us that we didn't know were possible. It's just, thanks everybody.
No, thank you, because as you read through the play again and again and enriched it, that's when you start to go, oh, wait a minute, there's a little bit more there than I thought, and you tease it out. Always fun.
Always fun.
And if it's not fun, what is the point?
And we always walk around with the flip side, or history couldn't really happen. Where does this come out of human beings? It's all inside.
Well, and also that we need each other so much. Like these are two people who, you would never in a million years think the Wicked Witch and Dorothy would need each other. But this talks about that, how we actually, and that's huge. I mean, that is epic.
Well, it's about loneliness, and that is what came through at the end, is that these are actually two lonely people finding each other, and so it made perfect sense watching you dig deeper and deeper.
Agreed. Yep. Catherine Curtin, it's commonly said that actors have to love their characters no matter how awful they are. Do you agree? And if so, what did you love about Maggie / the Wicked Witch of the West?
Oh, wow, that's a lot. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I that's just so much. I don't know what I think. To me, it's not what I love about any one character or any one person. It's what I love about where the adventure is taking them. I love to go on adventures. I just love to go on to where they're just going to jump off a cliff and they're going to hold hands. And I think that's actually the problem with what we do, because everything else in life pales in comparison. When you experience what we do in film or on stage or TV or in a class or wherever you are, and you have that moment that Lois talked about, I think it makes the rest of life so incomparably gray. And so it's not so much that, it's an electrical charge to leap. Calling myself an actor is always an adventure and meaning for me, but I feel like I am addicted to the electrical charge of moving into a piece and discovering the ineffable, riding the ineffable. And that's what's so brilliant about theater, because audiences they start to become the director. They start to take over the direction of the ineffable until you combine and you become one with your audience. It's the ultimate form of human connection. I don't really care what character I play. I just care that I'm, that's why to come here today, to do something with David Ives and Lois Smith, it was a very beautiful thing, because to ride with such great surfers, these are the greatest of all the surfers, and to catch the waves with great surfers it's the best of life, right? You always want to catch the best waves with the best surfers. Besides having kids or family or loving your dog, it's really the best of life, I think.
I've often said that if the whole world knew how wonderful it was to rehearse a play, there would never be any war, because everybody would be rehearsing all the time.
Yeah.
It's just the most fun in the world. There's nothing so electric.
And how close we are.
Yeah.
How close we become. Yes. I remember years ago I was doing a play at EST, and I don't even remember the name of the play. That's how bad I am. But there was this really long monologue, and I was like, what? And it was one of these 99-seat houses, Ensemble Studio Theater, the carpets are taped together. Sometimes a very alternative, forgiving and loving, caring audience, but also very smart. And I ran through this page-long monologue. I tried to pitch it so fast, so forward, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, just pace it up. At the very end, something happened. And the audience and I, we both, all of us knew what the monologue was about. And I couldn't have told you in words, but everybody got it. There was a collective breath that was one of the most profound things I have ever experienced besides childbirth in my life.
Yeah. And good actors have to take plunges. They have to take leaps. And in a way, these characters do just that. They ride the cyclone.
I was just thinking of Thelma and Louise at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And David's plays, it's very informed by the fairy tale. There's fairy tale-ish mentions in it, even. And most fairy tales have a moral component. You think David's done the opposite with this imaginative sequel? Or is there a moral?
I will answer that question with this. I was actually in Kansas a couple of weeks ago to watch some high school students do some one-act plays of mine. And then I had to address the students, and one of the kids, these wonderful kids who were doing these plays, this one girl raised her hand and she said, "Is there a meaning to this play?" And I said, "I certainly hope not."
Revenge is fun.
But what
How kind of you to do that.
I expanded on it a little bit, and I said, theater for me is never about plays don't have meanings. The meaning of the play is the event of what happens on stage and the relationship of the people, and presumably by watching human beings talk to each other, interact, we are somehow ennobled. And I quoted a line from Wendell Berry, who's a wonderful poet, essayist, farmer in Kentucky. And he said, and I think this is one of the great things about theater for me, he said, "It is not from ourselves that we will learn to be better than we are." And I feel like that is part of the mission of the theater.
That's great.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
It is not from ourselves that we will learn to be better than we are. And I must think about that every other day, because, you're drawing things in, and theater concentrates it. And so you have this crystal in front of you, and you get to contemplate the light playing on this crystal, and presumably you are made a little better than you are, which is not the same thing as a meaning. It is an experience.
Right.
So,
So it's experience, not really meaning. That's really fascinating, what are we experiencing, right?
It's more visceral.
Yeah, more visceral. Because maybe it is a Brechtian dislocation of meaning, because there is no meaning. Maybe it's all just experience.
Just watching it. It's just watching it happen. Yeah.
All the versions of The Wizard of Oz, in all of them, there's a power that comes from spells, from magic shoes and magic kisses and magic everything. which is true of so many fairy tales, old and new. So why is magic so central to fairy tales and stories like this?
A world of possibilities, I guess. But we are now living in a fairy tale world where we can talk to somebody, we can actually pick up a little box and talk to somebody who's in Sumatra and see them. And so we have conquered space and time that way. And so life gets more like a fairy tale the longer it goes on, which is why I want to go back to the commercial theater in South Chicago and have my mother pull me out from under the seat.
And also there's more power. I mean, the power is now given to all these gadgets.
The hope of magic, yes. That things can be different.
The hope of magic, that things can be different, because life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is so hard. And this movie came out in the Great Depression, right? It came out right.
Yeah.
Wasn't
the end.
Sure.
Originally?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know what that was like, but that was definitely bad.
But the beginning of the movie is about the Great Depression, that stretch of sepia-colored Kansas with nothing on it. They were saying, we're in the Depression. Oh, but we go to this magical land where other things are possible. And so it was certainly a comment on the Depression. It came around for a reason, I think.
And also a state of mind, because the lion was the most courageous and thought he wasn't, and Scarecrow was the smartest and thought he wasn't, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Lois, you've worked with luminaries in the 50s and the 60s, Elia Kazan and James Dean on East of Eden. You debuted on Broadway at age 22, if I'm correct, with Melvin Douglas, then twice with Helen Hayes, then Tennessee Williams and Jose Ferrer. Can you tell us a little about what it was like working and learning from them and so many others on stage and off?
Gosh, I think I have been so fortunate. I came to New York to be an actor in my early 20s and was extremely fortunate and began to work right away. And my first job, Melvin Douglas was my father. I was a teenage girl and he was my father.
One of my favorite stories is your final performance of that play with Melvin Douglas.
Oh, that's one of my favorite stories, too.
Please tell us.
Really?
Yes.
I played a teenage girl, and in the last act of the play, my character is going off to play Victoria Regina in the school play, and my parents are going to come and see it. And in the last scene, I have a little scene with them, and I go out the door. And the very last performance in New York, we'd been playing all season, Melvin ad-libbed as I made my exit, "She's going to be a great actress, that kid." Isn't that the dearest thing ever? I think
it was prophetic.
So sweet. Yeah.
David, you've written a great many short plays, and we've recorded about 12 of them. But lots of Americans view the short play as a kind of starter format, not as a fully fledged artistic genre of writing as we'd view a short story or a song. Why are you one of the short form's proponents?
Well, I love the concentration of a short play. Lorca once said that a play is a poem standing up. And I think that that's particularly true of short plays, because a short play can run on an image. It can run on a very brief encounter. And so the kind of crystallization that goes into a one-act play, you can't develop the plot because it becomes melodramatic. You can't develop the characters because you don't have time. And so you are going at something very essential. And so if you have 12 or 15 minutes to say a great deal, and that's what I like about them. There's a Beckett play called Come and Go, which is one of my favorite one-act plays, and I believe there are 78 words in that play. It's three women just exchanging places, one after the other, and it is a poem. And so, or the short plays of Pinter or Ionesco, they act like poems. They hit you very hard, very fast, and they leave you with something. And I like that. The same way that I like a Paul Klee painting more than I like a de Kooning, you know. A de Kooning is like a 3-act play, and it exhausts me. But a Paul Klee painting is a kind of perfect crystallization of something. So that's really why. And it forces you to cut everything away that doesn't belong. So I like them for that reason. It's concentration.
Thank you all for staying to talk about what you just recorded. It's a wonderful day. Thank
and
you.
I want to thank
Thank you,
these
Claudia.
two wonderful ladies.
Yeah,
oh my
thank you,
God.
guys. My
Oh my
God.
God.
You've been listening to Playing on Air, great American short audio plays with great American artists. Theme music by Tom Cochan. Recording and sound design, John Kilgore. Playing on Air is distributed by PRX, Public Radio Exchange, and available on our podcast, Playing on Air. Or you can stream performances from our website, playingonair.org. I'm your host, Claudia Catania, the founder and artistic director of Playing on Air. Thanks for listening.